Skyrim was the game that really brought me into the Elder Scrolls universe, as I mentioned in my Oblivion Remastered review, which you should definitely check out. I still remember launch day clearly. Sitting in my foldable chair, my rechargeable 360 batteries pre-charged and ready to go, diving headfirst into this massive, mysterious world. At the time, it felt like the next-gen experience. A huge open world, endless quests, branching storylines, and most importantly, tons of unique loot to hunt down and hoard. But since then, games have gotten bigger, flashier, and arguably better. So, does this 2011 classic still deliver in 2025? One thing that still holds up incredibly well in Skyrim is the story. Unlike Oblivion, where you often felt like a sidekick helping out from the sidelines, Skyrim puts you at the center of the world. Everyone's paying attention to you, reacting to your presence, your actions, your choices. The success of the world feels like it's riding on your shoulders. That shift makes a huge difference. In Oblivion, I never truly felt like I was changing the world, more like I was just lending a hand where needed. But in Skyrim, your decisions feel meaningful. You actually care about what happens because you're the one shaping it. A perfect example of this is the Round Table peace negotiation, where you, as a Dragonborn, broker a ceasefire between warring factions just to have a shot at defeating Alduin. It's a powerful moment that not only highlights the scale of the conflict, but also reinforces your importance in the world. And now, even years later, it still hits. The sheer number of quests in Skyrim is still impressive, even by today's standards. Long after finishing the main storyline, you'll keep stumbling into new quests that pull you deeper into this living, breathing world. It never feels empty, and there's always something interesting just around the corner. One of the biggest strengths is the skill and character creation system. It gives you the freedom to shape your playstyle however you want. Every skill point matters. You're not just aimlessly leveling like in Oblivion. Whether you want to master smithing, become a sneaky assassin, or blast everything with destruction magic, the game supports it fully. That sense of freedom makes your progression feel personal and more meaningful. Honestly, it's kind of amazing that Bethesda pulled this off back in 2011, especially on hardware like the 360. The level of freedom and depth they achieved on platforms that really shouldn't have been able to handle it is a testament to their focus on player experience. I don't even want to think about how many technical bottlenecks they had to push through to make this game work. Combat in Skyrim is surprisingly addicting. There's a solid balance between using magic for defense, like healing or shielding, and relying on weapons and enchantments to adapt to different types of enemies. It adds a strategic layer that keeps fights interesting and makes your choices feel meaningful. Fighting a dragon? You prep. Healing spell in one hand, dragon bane sword in the other, dragon rend ready to shout them out of the sky, and you get to work. Going up against the Droger, you switch to a weapon that's enchanted to do extra damage to the undead. That kind of strategic flexibility where enchantments, potions, and gear really matter makes hunting for the items even more incredibly rewarding. It encourages you to think, okay, I need fire damage, how do I get it? And then go chase it down. It's that sense of purpose in how you gear up that adds a whole other layer of depth to the gameplay. Enchanting and potion crafting in Skyrim are miles ahead of what we had in Oblivion. Disenchanting weapons to learn their effects and then applying those to gear you actually use makes enchanting feel central to the gameplay, not just some optional side system. And finding potion recipes hidden in dungeons is a small touch that makes alchemy feel like a real part of the world. And my god, the fact that there are no repair tools or weapon durability is an absolute blessing. That was one of the most frustrating mechanics in Oblivion in my opinion. You'd spend hours grinding to get that perfect weapon, only for it to break mid-fight because you forgot to bring a repair hammer. In Skyrim, you can just enjoy your hard-earned gear without babysitting its condition. Thank you, Bethesda. Something I really wanted to bring up is the books. I know they're not the core of the gameplay, aside from the occasional XP boost, but it's honestly incredible how many books Bethesda packed into Skyrim. The sheer amount of lore you can dive into just from a random collection found in some forgotten dungeon is pretty wild. The depth is staggering. Some of these books connect to broader world events, political conflicts, ancient history. It's like a fully realized universe hidden in the margins. And the fact that this game came out in 2011 still blows my mind. Even today, with better hardware, bigger budgets, and massive dev teams, we rarely see this level of world building in modern games. It's one of those quiet details that makes Skyrim feel truly alive. Skyrim's dungeons and caves are a huge step above what most games offer, even today. Each one feels unique, like it was handcrafted with care. You're not just walking through copy-paste corridors. Every cave and crypt seems to tell its own story. Whether it's bodies scattered in the right places, or the layout hinting at some past tragedy that led to the undead rising from their graves, you get a real sense of atmosphere and narrative without a single line of dialogue. Every location has its own vibe, a distinct enemy type, a story to uncover, and a clear goal to complete. And yes, unlike Oblivion, the game actually tells you when you fully cleared a dungeon. That might sound like a small thing, but it makes exploration feel way more rewarding. You feel like you finished something, not like you just missed a hallway and have to wander back through a cave for 10 more minutes. The sound design in Skyrim is genuinely incredible. Whether you're wandering through the mountains with the wind howling around you, or standing on a dock listening to the waves gently crash against the shore, the ambient sound makes the world feel truly alive. The weather shifts naturally, the birds quiet down at night, and everything around you feels dynamic and real. Just walking through a village, hearing the wildlife, the quiet hum of daily life, and villagers caught up in their drama is an experience that very few games capture as well. It's not just background noise, it's storytelling through sound. And of course the soundtrack is legendary, it elevates every moment from the main theme to the softer exploration tracks, creates a mood that's nearly impossible to beat. I honestly think the Skyrim soundtrack is one of the greatest in gaming, and I'm not sure it'll ever be topped. The factions in Skyrim are almost like full games in themselves. Depending on which group you join, you get a completely different experience, and that adds a whole new layer to the role-playing aspect. It's like the cherry on top of the immersion cake. Personally, I love running through the Thieves Guild questline, sneaking around, planning my approach, figuring out how to steal items without being caught. It's a real strategy to it, and it makes you think about your skills and tools in a different way. Modding is a huge part of what's kept Skyrim alive for so long. Bethesda's support for mods is one of the smartest moves they've ever made. Players can download everything from small quality of life tweaks and cosmic changes to entirely new quests, books, weapons, and even full-blown storylines, some of which are officially approved by Bethesda themselves. This constant stream of user-generated content means the game can keep evolving, getting deeper, and offering new experiences no matter how long you've been playing. Honestly, it's not a stretch to say you could play Skyrim for years and still have fresh content left to explore. That's the kind of longevity that is almost unheard of, and it's a big reason why Skyrim is being talked about over a decade later. Overall, I think Skyrim is something we may never experience again. It's a true zeitgeist moment. A time when gaming wasn't as massive as it is today, but still big enough for a studio to create something this ambitious. Games now are often released unfinished, with their longevity built around drip-fed DLC, but Skyrim was different. Bethesda spent the time, the world was ready for it, and everything lined up. YouTube was exploding, people were making Skyrim content from day one, and the 360 was thriving. Skyrim couldn't exist in today's market. It'd be too expensive, too risky. The demands from consumers now are nearly impossible to deal with. Everyone wants bigger, better, and longer games, but development costs have skyrocketed. Aside from Bethesda and a few others, very few studios could even attempt a game like this anymore. And yet, Skyrim continues to reach new players and new generations. It's been re-released across platforms, modded endlessly, and still holds up better than most games released today. And that's not by accident. It's because it's that good. This game has layers. It hooks you in with a quest and keeps you for 3 more hours just because you need to see what happens next. Skyrim doesn't just hold up, it thrives. There's no other game I know that checks this many boxes for what an open world RPG should be. I just hope Elder Scrolls 6 builds on everything that made Skyrim special. Bethesda doesn't need a Starfield-sized galaxy. Just give us a map with detail, purpose, and depth, and that's pretty much all it takes. Let me know your favorite Skyrim moments down in the comments, whether it's your first dragon fight, your favorite quest, or just getting launched into the sky by a giant. And tell me, do you think we'll ever see a game like this again? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.